Hello and welcome. So I've been working on this Quake 2 MD2 model exporter for Blender 5, and I want to show you how it works. So I have this nice skeleton model here. I will link the source of this model in the show notes, and it has some nice animations, right? Walking animation as well as punch, sword. Okay, 1 second. Didn't actually select. Okay, so all these animations, right? And we want to export them so they are in the model file that Quake 2 can understand. So if we select a character that we want to export and hit N, we see this panel here, Ultimate MD2. Here we have a couple of options. Firstly, there is the sample frequency, and that just tells us how many frames or the interval of frames that should be exported. So if this is set to 1, that each individual frame here will be treated as one individual frame and will be exported. If I set this to 2, only every other frame will be exported. So if we export 15, 16 won't be exported, 17 will be exported, 18 won't be exported. Also, what this does, if, for example, you have an animation that is not divisible by 2, then the exporter will find the best match, so the whole sequence will be exported equally. So it also makes sure that the very first frame and the very last frame of the animation is always being exported. Okay, so here we have the image base path. That is optional. We can say that, for example, in the MD2 file, there should be a relative path to the image file that is being used. Images are called skins in MD2 and Quake. And here is just the image file name. So if we don't select this, then it will just export this file name here as it is, right? Atlas Pirate PNG. So we can, for example, say skin, because that is very common for Quake models, that their textures are called skin. So if we say skin, it will rename those files, like the image files, to skin. If we say export original image, then the PNG file will be exported alongside the MD2 model file, which we want to do. We can export this image, this PNG file, which is 24-bit, to 8-bit PCX, like the paletted Quake 2 format. And if we select this, we get another toggle here if we want to apply the dithering to the file, and we will see shortly how big the difference is between a dithered and non-dithered image. In this case, we don't want to enable dithering because this is an atlas. We can see that if we go here, you can see that the vertices of there is no real UV layout. The UVs are just made so they're just collapsed. The vertices are collapsed onto each other so that they can just being pulled or put on top of one of those squares. So if I hit G and I just move them, you can see how the whole the armor of the skeleton is being updated, right? All right. So if we go back here and go into object mode again, and if we do dithering, then especially on very small images, like we have for this atlas, that will do more harm than good, because it will blend individual boxes together, which we don't want. In this case, at least, we don't want any gradients. All right, so if we hit export MD2, we can select a folder, which I have, like the usual dialog that you get in Blender. We call it skeleton MD2 and say export. And it's already done. It has exported all frames, and in this case, every second frame. Maybe we want to do every frame, actually. Just override it. It takes a while. This is something I want to maybe improve, that you get some progress bar, maybe, so the Blender program is not just hanging and you have no idea what's going on, but it's quick enough for small objects like this. So here we are in this folder MD2 demo, and we have exported our skeleton to an MD2 file. And here is the original texture, which is super tiny, right? If I scale it up, we can see this atlas, and we have it as a PCX file, right? And as you can see, it uses the Quake 2 palette, 256 colors, and tries to match the given colors in the PNG as closely to one of those colors available in the image file. Here I have the MD2 viewer, this old Windows program, and we open our skeleton MD2 file we just exported from Blender. And here it is, playing back. And we can maybe speed this up a little bit. It just cycles through all the animations, right? We can select them. You can see the animations are labeled correctly. Sword animation, the punch animation, the walk animation, and so on. So as you can see, all of this works, and you can also see that the normals are getting exported correctly. Otherwise, the lighting would not work. We can check if we disable the light. This is without lighting and just a pure emissive color in that context, right? All right, let's try actually another model. Here I have another model ready. I also downloaded this from Sketchfab. I will credit the author and the link to the model file in the video description, so you can download it yourself. I think it's a very good PS1 like model, right? Very few polygons, about 520 faces, which is extremely good, I think. Well modeled here. You can still make out the features of this woman here. It's pretty nice texture work as well. So now I want to export this as an MD2 file as well. I have no animations here, but that should not hold us back to export it. If there are no animations, it will just export this idle frame, right? This static frame. So, and here we just disable dithering. And I have not talked about, by the way, those options here. If we say custom skin name, that's actually the skin name that will be put into the MD2 file. I will show you in a second what exactly I mean by that. We can also export these frame definition headers. Maybe we take a look at this, because it output this header file here. And if I open that and maybe make that a little bit larger, you can see C file header define for all the frames, and that is actually what the Quake 2 engine uses to check or to address ranges of frames it should play back for a certain model. So you have that here if you want to integrate your model into the Quake 2 engine. In that case, we don't want to export it because we have only one frame, so it doesn't make much sense. yeah, I will talk about this option here in a second. For now, let's focus on the dithering. So if we don't apply the dithering and I say export, we can here export it as secretary MD2. Okay, it's done, it's exported. And if we look at the skin PCX file, open it again, we can see that the original actually looks like this. 1 second, if I zoom in here. So it's a fairly smooth skin transition, right, from cheekbones to mouth and so on, and also on the skirt and the shirt here. But the PCX conversion looks like there is a lot of, well, it doesn't only look like that, it is actually color bending going on, because it tried to match these 256 colors to, well, millions of colors. And of course, there is some error. So that is what you get when you don't dither. If we actually go back and say apply dithering, export again, and we just override this, and we open that again with dithering, you can see a much smoother image here. So if I copy pasta this onto the non-dithered version, we can toggle between those, and you can even see that there is kind of a perceptual color shift going on in the non-dithered version. So that is actually something you might want to use, right? If you try to squeeze all your colors into the Quake 2 palette, if you have not used the Quake 2 palette to make your textures. So actually, let's check how that model looks like. Okay, here we disable the light. Yeah, it's pretty good, I think. Makes sense to use dithering in this case. Okay, let's talk about this option about the custom skin name, and I set skin PCX here. If I actually leave that blank and we just export it again, let's see what is actually inside the model file. So if I use open a terminal here, let us check the actual content of the MD2 file, secretary MD2, and we only need the first few lines. We can see that here is the header, the magic bytes for MD2 file that actually signifies or tells the Quake 2 engine this is a file format I can read. And then there is a lot of data, right? So when we actually go back here and we say custom skin name and we say skin PCX, and we export this again, so it overrides, and we check it again, we can see that it has burnt in the file name, the skin file name, into the MD2 file. So if Quake loads this file, it knows what skin file it has to use, right? Also in Quake, if you actually do this hex dump -C on a Quake 2 model that shipped with the game, you will see something like that there is actually a prepended relative path towards the location of the image file. For example, that is models, monsters, and in this case, secretary. And that will now it will prepend this path to this skin name. So if we export again, we override. Now you see that there is this relative path towards the towards the image file, right? All right, that is it for now. You can find the beta version of this plugin on my Patreon page. And if you're a supporter, you can download it here. It's just a zip file, and then go into Blender, and in the under preferences, you just say install from disk, and there you can point directly to the zip file here. That is no different than any other plugin that is being installed for Blender. Okay, thanks a lot. And if you wanna have actually a full tutorial on how to create or make the code for a new enemy type with its own model and own animations for the Quake 2 engine, then let me know in the comments, and see you in the next one. Cheers.